Episode one, man. Episode one of Love the Game podcast. My name is Raymond Ragland.
I'm Marco Grimmick.
Yeah, so this is kind of crazy. This is the first time we've done something like this. You know, this is definitely something I've been waiting to do for a long time. I guess like for a lot of people, they want to know why we started a podcast. So Marco, you can start first. You can tell.
Yeah. From my perspective, I had actually hit the group chat about this one time because I was watching just like clips on Twitter about how the game is like covered, and I thought a lot of people that cover the NBA specifically, they aren't really fans of the game. And they don't really do it justice. And I kind of wanted a space where I could like speak my mind on the game and give my perspective.
Yeah. I mean, kind of similar to you. I'm big into sports journalism. Just graduated from Morehouse College. Shout out to guys. You know that. I was really like, I felt like a lot of media was missing something, a youthful perspective that I feel like, people on TikTok kind of have, but it's not really shown. We're kind of in a place now where I feel like, main reason why we call it Love the Game is because the love of, what we grew up watching is starting to lose it's starting to die out basically, So we want to give a more youthful perspective, let people know, let younger people know, don't just hate watch, don't do all that hating and stuff like that. Like there's a lot of positives. So because of that, we can transition into just the NBA conference finals right now. Who are some people that you are looking forward to seeing in the conference finals, some teams that you're looking towards like actually being a finals contender?
I definitely think I still have the Thunder. I had them going into the playoffs, winning the whole thing, and they didn't look great last year against Denver, but shot 32% from three. I expect it to go up a little bit, and I still would have them winning if I had to predict. But I think the Timberwolves are a really good team in the regular season. I don't think their record was indicative of how good they were as a team. They had the fourth best net rating. And I really think like they got better as the season went on, like Julius Randle finding his footing and stuff. So I think either one of those teams in the West I would have winning the finals, but I do think the Thunder will take that. And between the Knicks and the Pacers, I really do go back and forth because the Knicks I thought were the better team when the regular season ended, but Pacers have been really good in the playoffs. But I still think I got the Knicks in a close series if I was to give a prediction on that. What about you?
So I think like Thunder and Wolves, like you said, that's a hard one. I want to say I give the Thunder a little bit of the edge just because of their rotations. I feel like they have more of a cohesive team than the Timberwolves. Not to say that the Timberwolves aren't a cohesive team. I just feel like there's more two-way players on the Thunder than there are the Timberwolves, even though both teams are like very defensively based, I look at guys like in the key series, like Alex Caruso. I feel like that's a guy that can shift a game. Chet Holmgren, that's another guy who I think can shift the game, especially coming off of this series going against Nikola Jokic. And even because a lot of people, they gave him a lot of stuff. J-Dub, I feel like he is ready to move to a new level. And then our guy, Isaiah Joe.
I hope he gets minutes this year.
Real series shifting player. Sixers legend.
I was getting mad at Dagnall a little bit that series because I wanted to see him play a little bit more.
He deserves it.
Struggling. Like the best shooters on the bench right now, and he was so good in the regular season. Dagnall preaches process. I'm like, what happened to the process here? Why is you know what I mean? You're like the guy you've been playing the whole regular season. You just put him on the bench, but or his leash was just so short. Like sometimes he get like a minute, miss a shot, come out the game.
Oh God! Shout out Isaiah Joe.
Shout out Isaiah Joe, man.
We know.
Dwayne Dedmon over me.
But and in terms of Pacers Knicks, I feel like that is gonna be a very hard series to predict. I low-key got the Pacers because they have the number one offensive rating, and I think a team hasn't been able to figure out how to keep them under 100 other than Cleveland. And even then, like they still kind of like, still did what they had to do. So it's just, I feel like the Pacers again, like they're like Tibbs runs basically a 6-man rotation. So it's like I feel like the Pacers have more guys that they can plug in Andrew Nembhard is another guy I know we talk about a lot. Like I feel like is going under the radar of everybody. He changes everything because he can press and also score.
Yeah.
So it's like
Nesmith too. I love
another guy too. Yeah.
I like both of those teams. I think it comes down to the Knicks offense because right now their playoff net rating is like a 0.1. So like that is kind of unprecedented to see in the conference finals for a team to like have that low of a net rating, like make it this far.
Yeah.
And a lot of it is because their defense has been so elite and they've just been holding teams to really low scores and like they've lost a couple of blowout games, which really skews it. And like in the grand scheme of things, their net rating like would be a lot better if you like extrapolate it over a bigger sample size. But like I think it really comes down to their offense because they're scoring 110 points per 100 possessions, which against the Pacers will not cut it. The Pacers are going to score way more than that. But I think the Knicks are definitely capable of scaling up their offense. And
I definitely feel like an X factor if the Knicks win, Karl-Anthony Towns just has to take over.
I agree.
Because he's better than Miles Turner in my opinion. You know, he's better than Pascal Siakam in my opinion. They're just they're both really good players, and I feel like even though Mitchell Robinson has been playing well, I feel like the combination of Miles Turner and Pascal Siakam is more effective than Cat and Mitchell Robinson because Cat is kind of he can play that offensive and defensive bag better than I think Mitchell Robinson can. You know what I mean? I feel like out of the four, Mitchell Robinson might be the weakest out of all the four bigs.
I think Mitchell Robinson is a way better defender than Cat. I would like to see some two big lineups from them, but like, yeah, just pulling it up here. I don't think Cat, his offense, I don't think will cut it against the Pacers. Like the closeout game, 21 points, 48% true shooting's not great, but close it out, so it doesn't matter. 19 points. And what was this game 5 on 64% true shooting, pretty good, but you're probably gonna need more scoring volume. 23 on 74, that's a good game from him. 21 on 46, that's not gonna cut it. 21 on in 21 in was it the second game on 61, and then 14 on 50 in the first game. Like I just don't think that production, low 20s on like inconsistent like efficiency is gonna cut it. I think they need Cat to be the second team All-NBA player that I had him as at the end of the regular season. I thought that highly of him, and that second round I was a little bit concerned, but I think that he should be able to bounce back this series, but we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. So yeah, I mean, we could go talking a lot about the playoffs. We'll probably talk about it some more as the series start tomorrow. I think that's when it starts.
Tonight. The first game is tonight for the Western Conference Finals.
Okay, yeah, all right. So, we'll probably get some more updates later the next episode. Yeah, I'm really excited for tonight then.
Both of these should be good series. I don't see either one of these going less than 6.
Yeah, me too. And I feel like it's perfect because now it's all new faces. Like, who's gonna be the next guy to lead the next generation of the league, and that's really important for its growth.
And they're all guards too. Like all the teams are led by guards, which I think is amazing.
Yeah, bro. So yeah, now that we talked about that, a lot of people I know, especially in Philadelphia, talking about the mock draft. Before me and Kobe have some lists of guys that we think are gonna go where. But before we want to talk about our team. So I guess we made a list regardless of if we get the pick. What is the long term of Maxey and McCain? That's something that I was talking about going into the draft because I know that we're trying to draft guards or Ace Bailey, and I feel like because we have established guards of Maxey and McCain, we don't need to draft another guard. I know some people do want to draft somebody like VJ Edgecombe. I can respect that. I feel like just because we have two guys already that can put 30 on the floor and have that want to be good on defense, I feel like we're already established in that end, and we need longer players. But what do you think?
I don't disagree. I disagree a little bit about VJ. I do think he could scale up and play the 3 because his measurement was pretty good. 6'4" with his athleticism. Barefoot, he would be like 6'5.5" with shoes on. I think like you see J-Dub play the 4. He's like 6'5", 6'6". So I think he could. But I agree with your point as far as needing guards because I think best player available is kind of tricky because like because you want to put a guy in a situation where they can flourish and grow and stuff like that, and sometimes like just taking the best player, they're not gonna have like the necessary opportunity. Like you see Trey Mann on the Oklahoma City Thunder.
Exactly.
Like,
yeah.
He's a really good player. Might have been the best player available, but like at a certain point, like you got to have a guy that's gonna be on the floor for you, provide some type of value. Unless you just plan on like trading him immediately.
Yeah. And even when he went to Charlotte too, like I feel like he gets his shine, but like it's still a Melo's team, if that makes sense. And it's still prioritizing Brandon Miller.
It is. He was a good sixth man. He got hurt a little bit. I think that role is probably better for him. I don't see him ever becoming a star. Like I really like his game though. I really do like his game. Mm-hmm. But I think he's like a prototypical sixth man, like run the unit when like your star like primary creators off the floor. Yeah. I do really like him though. But like as far as like I didn't even think to put Jeremiah Fierce in the conversation for the Sixers. Like first of all, not his biggest fan, if I'm being honest. Mm. As far as like, I'll get into that a little bit later because I'm sure you have him. I'm sure we'll talk about him later. But like, with Maxime McCain, like I would rather have a guy that might be a little bit worse of a prospect, but I think could like grow into his role and would be more useful for the team. Yeah. This is not to say like I want to draft like the fit player over somebody that's clearly better. Like if Dylan Harper were to fall to the Sixers, I would take Dylan Harper because I think Dylan Harper is that good of a player. So I would prioritize best player available to a degree, but I agree with what you're saying. Like I would like, unless it's like glaringly obvious that this player is the best player available, I would probably like highly consider fit or like opportunity. I would more so say for the player.
Okay. So like another thing, you can kind of like describe your experience a little bit because people might not understand this question. But what do you think about Jared McCain's torn meniscus? Like, how do you think that will play in the future? Do you think that injury will affect him because he's young? Like, what is your opinion as like a kind of like rising medical student or burgeoning medical student?
Yeah. Well, to me, from what it sounds like, is that his recovery should be fine because they're like various like surgeries you can get on the meniscus, and based on the time frame of his recovery, they're not going to like come out and tell us exactly what he got. Based on the time frame saying it's a full year, I believe that this probably shouldn't hold him back in the future unless like he were to like, God forbid, like tear it again or something like that. I don't want to jinx. I know this team, bro. Like, unless he were to like tear it multiple times, I don't see this like affecting him in the future. Like, Embiid was tough because it's like you're really shaving away part of Joel's meniscus, and that's why he's able to come back so early because it's not like he's not really making that big of a recovery. You're just like cleaning up the scar tissue and cleaning up like what's coming off. But his was like never gonna be the same, sadly. But Jared's, I think I'm not too worried about him if I'm being honest.
Okay, and on the flip side, what do you think about Embiid and Paul George with their injuries and just based on our history? Because I got my own opinions for sure. Like
I'm scared, man. Scared. Embiid is my like favorite player, bro, and I don't feel good about his meniscus. I don't think like maybe they get better at managing it, but it's never gonna be like fully back. But P, I don't know. P was like it was tough because it was bone bruises and stuff this year, and he should be able to recover from that. Like I'm sure it was painful and it was hard to play on. Yeah, I do expect him to like be a little bit better next season. Like I know that's not saying much because he's like how he played this year. It's like it's only up from there. But I do think that he does play better this year. Like I'm a little bit more optimistic.
I agree. I think even though like his role is the third option, I think he has to embrace that because like I know I'm not gonna lie, like in terms of Sixers viewership, like I'll be honest, I did not watch a lot of this year because of how painful it was to watch. And I remember specifically, we talked after that game when they played Phoenix, and it was that one game,
right?
Yeah, it was first game, and he had we were toe to toe with them, and instead of giving the ball to Maxey when he was hooping, he wanted to ISO it and like make it Paul George.
Step back deep,
you know what I'm saying? So it's like that's the main thing that I worry about for the future. But like you said, like I think after he recovers from his injury, he should be able to just play basketball normally. I just think it all falls down to him understanding like this is not my team. It's low key now Maxey's team because Embiid, similar to you, like I said, like you said, bro, Embiid is one of my favorite players of all time, and it's not looking too good in terms of like, do I think he's actually gonna be back? Because I feel like if he comes back at the beginning of the season, something's up. Like, because it doesn't make any sense.
I mean, I think like with the surgery he just got, I do think he will be back for the beginning of the season unless like what happened last year happens again where his knee just swells up in training camp. And if that happens, like, I don't know, then I just don't think it's possible to trade him. So I'm not even going to like suggest that. Like I don't think it's possible. Yeah. Like, but yeah. Unless it swells him and training camp, I do think he'll be back. Because what they did is just like pretty much a cleanup. Like they removed the scar tissue. They like removed any other parts that could be like inhibiting his like range of motion or something like that. But at a certain point, your meniscus is just like gonna keep wearing away. And that's we just gotta hope that it wears away pretty slowly and gives them the longest amount of time possible.
So I guess in terms of young players, that's not really Maxey or McCain. Like, who are some guys that you're looking at that you think are I guess key pieces for the Sixers' future?
It's a good question. I mean, obviously, I hope we re-sign Grimes. Like, that's the fastball. Like, if we re-sign him, I thought he's a fantastic player. Before the trade, I thought that was an amazing trade by Daryl Morey. I remember like texting the group chat, making like tweets on Twitter, because I thought we got the better player, the younger player, like the player who would fit better with the team because he's a better shooter.
Yeah.
And we got our draft pick back. Yeah. So I was like, I thought he absolutely fleeced the Mavericks, and like it turns out like it's looking like it unless we can't retain Grimes. Mm-hmm. But either we got our pick back, so I was happy with that. But other than Grimes, I really like Justin Edwards, which I thought he really impressed me with his shooting. It was pretty inconsistent in college. And at the NBA level, it was a little bit consistent, but inconsistent. But he's a rookie, still young. Kind of expected that. He shot like mid-30s from three, which I was happy with that. I'll take that from Justin Edwards. His touch inside was really good. I think he was in like the low 60s at the rim, and his mid-range shot was pretty efficient too. Mm-hmm. So I thought he showed some really good juice off the ball and some really good juice on the ball. Really good job in taking closeouts. He's pretty athletic. He's not like 6'8" like he was listed in high school. I think he's probably like 6'6", but I think he could play with like a variety of lineups. I really hope he's on the team on a long-term contract. I know we got a team option.
Yeah.
But I like to try to get something long-term done because I do look at him as a future of this team. As like crazy as it may sound to somebody who's not a Sixers fan because he's an undrafted free agent, I was really impressed.
I remember you telling me about him like a long time ago. You were surprised that he wasn't drafted.
I wanted him at 41 or whatever we had, 41, 42. Yeah. I'm happy with Bona. I really like Bona. I think he's going to be a part of the team too.
Yeah, me too.
But I wanted Justin Edwards at 41 during the draft. Like I was like sitting there like watching the draft rooting for that. So I was happy we picked him up in an undrafted free agency. Like right after the draft too. You could tell that like that was somebody that had their eye on for sure.
Yeah. And so speaking of them, Morey and the Morey and the GMs. I don't really know what to say because it's like it. For those who don't know, like the Sixers are a very big thing in Philadelphia. They try to say it's an Eagles town. It is an Eagles town, obviously, but it's a sports town. So we're tapped into every single thing that's going on in each team. And like this draft is such a big deal. Mm-hmm. It feels like now this is like almost like a make or break for Daryl Morey.
It does.
Because like we've had questions for the longest time, especially coming into last year. We thought that was going to be the team that really was going to actually make a statement, especially against the Celtics, who we have a big rivalry against them. We want to be the guys that beat Boston because they beat us so many times. And New York unfortunately took that mantle from us. Now we got to try to build against New York. The problem with that is it just feels like we're kind of in this rebuild or bust type of stage right now, at least from my perspective. Because Embiid, I feel like Embiid, as much as I love Embiid, I don't think he's going to be able to produce that same level of dominance that we've seen the last, however long he's been playing, you know what I mean? And it's like, because of that, he's such a big part of the game plan and how we play basketball. It's like, I feel like a rebuild is inevitable, but I feel like Morey's pride won't allow us to enter that stage. I don't know, what do you think?
I agree. Even as his job security, like if Daryl Morey tries to launch a rebuild after like how horrendously the season went, I think that like he might get fired. So I agree. I don't think he will. I mean, if I'm him, I probably try to build this team like I'm building it without Joel. And then if Joel, like however many games he's able to play, that's just like the cherry on top. Like, cause I don't know. He showed us that he could fit in with all the lineups. Like, you know what I mean? Like, play good defense around the rim. I think that's going to start degrading as time goes on. But
I agree. Yeah,
he could space the floor to a degree. I would hope that he would not shoot like but the high teens percentage from 3 next year. I would hope that it would be back up in like the 30s, like mid 30s, high 30s again. And I think that would be a useful weapon, like him spacing the floor. He sets really good screens, which is super underrated.
Yeah.
Like you watch him and Maxey, their 2-man game. He frees up Maxey so many times
They
with
were
the
the
screens.
best duo last year before he got hurt.
Yeah, I mean,
statistically
like 2 years ago, right? Or
yeah,
like last season.
Like I'm counting this season like the 2024-2025 season.
Okay,
so like
okay.
It's last year, right? I'm not tripping, right?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Statistically last
year.
Okay,
I agree.
Look it up. Look it up.
Yeah. I mean, like a lot of it is gravity, but a lot of it is just like being able to set screens where like that aren't illegal too. Like a lot of people I don't know. I feel like you count on one hand how many like illegal screens you see from him in 1 year, which is like really impressive for as many as he set. So I think he'll still be like a useful player when he's there. I still think he'll be like a star level player. I just don't think he'll be like a top 5 player in the world type player that we're like used to seeing from him. So, and yeah, I would build it like he's not there. Like I would have like a lot of center depth on the team. Like I don't think we can have a team this year where Gershon Yabusele starts games at center. Like I don't think that's like, and like part of that with Andre Drummond was kind of shaky this year, so I can't really put that on more because I thought that was a good pickup too.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
But I have a little bit of faith in Bona, and our second round pick. I think there's gonna be some good centers on the board. So hopefully we are able to build a competent team when he's not there. And if he is able to play for the playoffs, that is the cherry on top. God willing, we make the playoffs.
Yeah, God willing, though, for real, because it's looking bleak. I don't really know, and that kind of brings me to the next like part that I've seen like a couple of people talk about on social media. They talk about like Nick Nurse's job security, like as a coach. I feel like it's not really Nick's fault because he's been dealing with Joel Embiid and us out there. You know what I'm saying? Like, and he's been like dealing with so many crazy different lineups. We haven't seen what Nick Nurse can really bring to the table with an actual competent team.
No, I definitely agree.
And I just feel like we put him in a bad position because it's like it's almost like we're drawing random of who's gonna start today, who's gonna play today.
We had the most starting lineups ever in the season. I don't think this was a fair season to him. I don't think he coached great. Like I don't think his sets were great. I don't think his play calls are great. Like we didn't look like a well-coached team. We had a lot of 5-second violations. Our inbounds plays weren't great. But the year before that, I thought he was pretty good. Like I'm not gonna call him the best coach in the league, but I was very happy with his performance. Like last season, the one that like how we were talking about before.
Yeah.
Like I was very impressed then. But yeah, I don't expect him to be able to win a game when all respect to these players during the NBA. He's like starting games with Chumo KK and Pete Nance and like players that I never heard of before they signed to the Sixers. Alex Reese, like players I've never heard of before they signed to the Sixers, if I'm being honest. Philip Wheeler, made the G League team and was like making his NBA debut. Like I don't know what you want Nick Nurse to do. The team was obviously trying to lose games at a certain point. And I don't think he was great. I'm not even trying to say like Nick Nurse was amazing this year, but yeah, I don't think it should be like used against him like on the hot seat because of that.
Yeah, I mean because we're still in like the same guys run the Sixers, I don't feel like Nick Nurse's job is going to be in jeopardy at all.
I agree.
I feel like they're going to give him like at least like 2 years. Because it's kind of more on them to actually give him a roster to compete with.
Yeah.
You know? And right now it's looking like it's going to be young dudes and some old heads and not even Embiid. Like so like we're saying the same thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we agree on that.
Yeah. So we can just move on to WNBA.
Shout out to Jameer Nelson though.
Shout out Jameer Nelson.
Just picking him up.
Shout out Jameer Nelson, man. Please save us, bro. Save us, please. We can go to the WNBA. Another reason why we wanted to make a podcast was to talk more about the WNBA. There's like a lot of controversy, I feel like, outside of basketball, especially like the whole Angel Reese, Caitlin Clark rivalry thing. And I feel like it needs to be brought more to basketball. You know what I mean? I feel like a lot of people are using basketball players to spew whatever they want out there rather than just make it about the game.
Just care about the drama.
Yeah. And that's the problem with it, So, oh dang, we forgot to go over the draft, but we'll probably do that. We'll do that after. I guess with the WNBA, what are some teams that you like? Who are some players that you're looking at to really make an impact?
So I got a list of players that I'm like looking forward closer this year. I watched last year, but more as a casual fan. I'm like really trying to get into it this year. I told myself I was gonna hold off until Philly got a team, but
hey, WNBA, come on now.
But now it looks like I'm just player watching for the time being until somebody wants to step up and buy a team in Philly. So some players I had my eye on that aren't like the established stars, like an A'ja Wilson or like a Caitlin Clark or somebody like that, is Sonia Citron on the Mystics. She was the third overall pick in this draft, and she's a 3-and-D player who can get to the rim. This is one of our friend Durin's favorite players. I also had the second overall pick in the draft, Dominique Malonga, and she's the 6'6" center for the Storm. She's from France, and we didn't get to see her play college basketball because she's an international player. So I'm kind of intrigued on what we had there because I feel like that could be a real wild card. Like Paige was obviously an amazing prospect who went number 1 overall, but the fact that this girl went number 2 overall, I think this says a lot about what the scouts think of her. And I wonder what would have happened if she was in college basketball. Like I wonder if she would have gave Paige a run for that number 1 spot. You know, she's not off to a great start in the year, admittedly, but I believe she played 10 minutes last game, and I believe she played 2 minutes the game before. So she hasn't really had like a real opportunity yet. So I'm excited to see how the season goes for her, whether or not they're going to like ease her in, because I know they don't have a G League, so it can't be like a Reed Shepherd or like a Min Thompson situation where she spends time down there. Yeah. We see anything, so I'm hoping she gets more time because I'm looking forward to seeing her play. Next, I have J.C. Sheldon on the Sun. She's going to have more opportunity this year, and she's off to a pretty good start, so I'm going to be watching out for her. And then I have Natasha Mack. She's Brittany Griner's replacement, and she's missed a couple of games with back injury so far. So we haven't really been able to see anything yet, but I'm looking forward to seeing what she's going to do in her role because it's hard to fill in for like a WNBA legend, like what she's trying to do there. I also have, she's a little bit of a more well-known player, but Satu Salabi. She's
on the wings,
two-time All-Star. Yeah, she missed time last season. She only played like 15 games. And she was like 5th in MVP voting before last year. So I'm looking if she's going to have a bounce-back year. And she's off to a good start. She played 1 game. She had 27 points. And she's a two-way player, has impact on offense and defense. And she can score on multiple levels. So I'm excited to see if she can bounce back into the MVP caliber player form. I also have Lucy Olsen from Villanova, and she's from Collegeville, PA. So shout out to her.
Shout out to her.
She didn't finish her college career at Nova. She finished it at Iowa. But she was a second-round pick, and she's a high-volume scorer. We'll see how the three-point efficiency is. That's probably like her swing skill in the WNBA, I would say. And then my last one is Brittany Sykes on the Mystics. Now, this is somebody I was really looking at because she's a really good defensive player in the WNBA. She is 4-time All-Defense honors, and she was the runner-up for Defensive Player of the Year in 2021. She's never really been like a great scorer, never really been efficient, can't really shoot the ball well from 3. But she's off to a pretty good start this year. She's averaging like 27 points because she got to the free throw line 13 times in 1 game and 12 times in the other game.
Okay.
She's never averaged more than 4 free throws per game in her career.
Okay.
And I'm thinking if like, obviously I don't think she'll be above 10 free throws per game this year, but if she increases that to like 8, she's a pretty good free throw shooter, 75% for her career. I think that maybe she could be more than just a defensive player this year and like see an All-Star game. So she's the one I'm kind of the most excited about.
Okay. Word. So I feel like for me, I've been focusing more on like the team aspect. But like some players I feel like in the draft that I've been really interested in, obviously the number 1 pick, Paige. I feel like she's going to be a phenomenal player for years to come. I feel like I'm low-key just, the only thing I'm cautious of is just her injury history, you know what I mean?
Right.
Not to say that she's not a bad player, not to say that. But yeah, I feel like she really could be the future of the WNBA. I really like to see her, and then I'm blanking right now.
Arike?
Yeah, Arike.
Yeah,
bro.
I really like Arike. I think she's my favorite WNBA player.
She is tough. She might be my favorite WNBA player right now because her bag is so insane.
Yeah,
like,
it is.
I feel like watching her play is like, it reminds me of like East Coast basketball where it's like you really want to size up, you really want to get your man shook. And I feel like she's just really good at getting her defenders off balance and creating her own shot. And I feel like just having someone like that on their team with Paige who can be both a scorer and an off-ball player, I think that will just really benefit her with years to come. But that's only if Dallas just wants to continue to have Paige grow.
Yeah.
You know, I know they also have Dejanay now on that team. I think she's a really good two-way player as well. I'm interested to see how those three will blend together. And I know that, you know, we're just gonna see as the WNBA season comes along, just how that team works together. I don't expect them really to make noise like that, because, you know, Paige is obviously gonna be the main subject of what the Dallas Wings have going on. But I do think that they will get better throughout the season just because of the talent. And Paige, I know, will step up to the occasion and play to a high level. You know.
Yeah, definitely. I think they'll both take the pressure off of each other too. Because Arike, like one thing I believe she struggled with a little bit was her efficiency. She's a fantastic scorer, but she was taking on a lot of load. So I think Paige being there, hopefully she can like scale down a little bit in the volume and scale up the efficiency.
Yeah,
I think that'll definitely lead to more wins for them because it's something like.
And so like some other teams that I feel like I've been watching, obviously one team that you really have to give credit to is the New York Liberty. Another team that I'm looking at is the Aces, always because A'ja Wilson is arguably the best player in the league. I'm really interested as I get more into the WNBA to see how A'ja just takes over games. I know a lot of people said that the Kelsey Plum trade was a big deal to get more voices, more fresh voices in the Aces. So I'm really excited to see like what that means for A'ja's, I guess, reign. You know what I mean? Also, I'm excited to see Kelsey Plum on the Sparks because I saw she dropped 37 the other day.
Yeah.
And then another team that I'm really interested in that I feel like could be a dark horse champion is the Seattle Storm. And so the reason why I did that is because I actually watched a podcast. I think it was Lexi Brown's podcast. She was talking about how the Seattle Storm, their rotation is basically like, it's almost kind of like the Indiana Pacers. They have a player for anything.
Yeah, they played last night. I was impressed by them.
Yeah.
I was looking up her name. I wanted to get it right. It was Gabby Williams. I thought
she had a really good game. She was on France, bro.
I thought she had a really good game last night.
Yeah, they have her on the bench. You know, Skylar Diggins. She's on the team, I think, also. Again, Lexi Brown, that's another player that I'm really interested in because she's a high IQ player. So, yeah. Definitely really interested in what the WNBA is going to bring this season. I think the NBA and the WNBA are having both two, like, new renaissance periods. Just, you know, all these new young players, they're really trying to make names for themselves, and I think that's really important, not only for competition, but more importantly, just the growth of basketball and just, you know, more growth for love of the game. So with that being said, now we can kind of go into the NBA draft. So yeah, Co, if you want to go first,
you want to do like I do my first overall pick, you do your first overall pick, and we talk about it.
Okay, let's do that.
And so just before we start, I did like I'm making the pick. Did you do it like you were making the pick, or what you think is gonna happen? Okay, so
like what I think is gonna happen / like how this player would kind of if I'm a GM, like
if you're the GM,
why this player would work with my team.
That's what I did too.
Okay. All right, yeah.
Because a lot of these, like not a lot of these, some of these I don't think is actually gonna happen. But this is what I would do, like if I was drafting.
Yeah.
So one I had flagged in the mess, think like comes in like one of the better prospects I've seen in my lifetime. About 23 years on this earth.
Shout out Duke.
He was a great player, man. I really liked that team. I had a lot of fun watching him. And I think he'll be an All-NBA player. I'd be really shocked if he wasn't at some point in his career.
Yeah. So for me, I also had Mavs getting flagged. Some of the reasons why I thought flag was important for the Mavericks. It automatically improves their defense. It replaces that scoring hole with Luka. Obviously, it's going to take years to replicate, but you know, you finally have somebody who can at least produce some type of Luka-esque level. You know what I mean? And even though Kyrie might be out for the year, it gives Kyrie like at least something to work with. You know what I mean? And also it lets the city of Dallas know finally that they're actually committed to winning. Because for the longest time, I guess for this whole season, the Mavs fans have been almost at like the center of NBA news. There's been a lot of questions about if the Mavericks would even stay in Dallas. So I feel like just getting flagged first overall, I think it confirms to the fans in the city that, you know, the Mavericks are here to stay and that the Mavericks are committed to winning for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, I wasn't too much worried about them leaving. I feel like the market's big.
Yeah.
But I definitely think that a lot of the fans were probably worried about them like selling off Anthony Davis and stuff and like going to do a rebuild. So I agree with that.
Yeah.
I also like that they'll be able to have a big man for Cooper Flag. I thought he was really good.
Yeah.
Like throwing lobs to Malawach in the dunker spot. I thought that was one of like his biggest strengths was like running the pick and roll as the ball handler, which I was kind of surprised with because I thought he made some really nice reads out there. So playing with AD, playing with Lively, and I don't know what they're going to do about Gafford. I know he's due for a contract.
Yeah.
They might trade him. But either way, he has at least two really good bigs there that he could run the pick and roll with or could play dunker spot for him or that he could work with because he was so good with Malawach last year. I think that's important for him.
Who you got for number 2, bro?
I got Harper. I think he's just too good to pass up on. Like, I know everybody talks about him as a really good primary creator in college and a possible primary creator in the NBA, and I agree. He's like unprecedented levels of finishing at the rim. Like, it was absolutely amazing. I watched a lot of Rutgers games. My roommate, shout out Obi, was a Rutgers fan. And when the Sixers started doing bad, I was like, hey, they got 2 guys. Like, who knows? Yeah. So I started watching the games with him. I was really impressed with Harper. Only concern I have is his pull-up shooting because off the dribble, he was still really good. I mean, not off the dribble. Catch and shoot, he was still really good. 43.2% from 3. Which is also part of the reason I would draft him if I was the Spurs, because he was in the 86th percentile as a spotted player and the 91st as a cutter. So I think his fit is super underrated. I think he wasn't really able to showcase that at Rutgers because they really didn't have anybody else to facilitate the offense. Kind of used Ace Bailey like more as like an isolation player, didn't run too many sets with Ace with the ball. And he was like the only player, like I know they're all Division I players and they're all like great in their own right, but they weren't on the level of Ace and Dillon. And you don't really want those guys to like facilitate the offense. So I really don't think Dylan Harper was able to show off his off-ball skills as much. But they are there in the small sample size that we have. And I do think he would fit really well on the Spurs, actually.
Okay. I do think Harper is a great prospect. However, I have the Spurs trading their pick.
I can see that as well. I would draft him, though, if it was
So I said the team that trades for that pick will obviously select Dylan Harper, right? And I feel like, so instead of like listing the reasons why I listed some teams that I felt like could trade for that pick.
For sure.
Some teams that are in the hunt, you could say the Milwaukee Bucks because of Giannis.
Okay.
We have to throw that in there.
Just San Antonio will be getting Giannis back in this trade.
Yeah, right? They're like I'm assuming. I'm just assuming. You know.
I can see it.
Another team would be like a team like the Hornets. They would want to trade up. I feel like I feel like they would just want another shooter to play alongside LaMelo.
Or probably have the assets for that too.
Yeah, or maybe LaMelo might be, unfortunately, that they might trade LaMelo.
He could be.
Basically. And a dark horse team that I have are the Boston Celtics.
I will say, I opened up the document that we have shared, and I did see you had that, and then I stopped reading everything else, but I did know you were going to say that. I had sat on this for a couple of days, because at first I thought you were kind of crazy, but then I'm sitting there and I'm like, I kind of feel it. I wanted to know who you were thinking the Celtics would trade, because I would understand why the Celtics would want to pick. I was having a hard time seeing who the Spurs would want in return, as far as like a financial perspective that they would rather have than Dylan Harper on a rookie scale. So I was wondering, like, did you think it was going to be Jaylen Brown? Were you thinking more Derek White? Or were you thinking like Kristaps Porzingis?
I really don't know, honestly, because of the Celtics cap situation. I think it really goes with whatever San Antonio thinks they can fit. Because if I'm San Antonio, right, I would probably aim for someone like Jaylen Brown. I know my man's Phil. Shout out my man's Phil. Huge Boston Celtics fan. He thinks that he's a little bit overpaid. Just because
I think he is too.
I'm not gonna get into another man's pockets. I will say though that Jaylen Brown needs Jason Tatum the same way Jason Tatum needs Jaylen Brown. In a way, and from my point of view, I feel like that's just from like years and years of the Celtics beating us. It felt more like a 1B type of punch than it was like a 1 and a 2. You know what I mean?
Nah, as a Sixers fan, trust me, I completely agree. I realized how great Jaylen Brown could be.
Yeah.
I felt like every time they needed a shot to stop the bleeding, that wasn't wasn't like, what was it? I'm thinking specifically like 2023.
Yeah, it was Jaylen Brown who was always making those tough shots.
Unless it was like the end of Game 6 or Game 7, it was literally like Jaylen Brown comes off a screen, like D'Anthony Melton's hand in his face, like Jaylen Brown wasn't missing it.
Yeah.
And I don't know. If I'm San Antonio, I probably don't do it because I think he does eat up a lot of cap space. I think could be allocated somewhere better. And I don't know. I'm also just really high on Harper. Like I know a lot of people are, but like when I see somebody say like Spurs should consider Ace Bailey, I like Ace more than most people. I think that would be crazy because I think Dylan Harper is just that good.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I probably wouldn't do it because the Supermax is a lot, and the question is about his shooting too. Like,
yeah.
If you have questions about like, I would understand why you think he would be like a better shooter than Dylan at the NBA level, but I still don't think he's a great shooter.
Yeah.
And then De'Aaron Fox isn't a very good shooter for a small point guard. Like he's like low 30 percentile, not super high volume. Not percentile. Then Stephon Castle, I don't think he'll be a good shooter next year. I know people are falling for the workout video right now, but I just don't see it. And then also having Jaylen Brown as a 3, not a great shooter. I don't know.
It's I know what like with the Celtics, it's definitely a reach. Yeah. I'm not saying that like it's 100% guaranteed. I do know that I know next year they're not going to be as good as this year, right? And they're going into a situation where they have to get rid of. They're talking about. Because like they have to essentially get rid of Drew and KP at least. And their picks are frozen because of the second apron stuff. Yeah. I don't know how you trade. So, but the only thing is right, like if I'm Brad Stevens, do you really want to rely on Jason Tatum coming off that Achilles injury to go back to like 2021 Jason Tatum where he could carry the Celtics by himself? Like, and do you really want to bet on Peyton Pritchard being your point guard for the future? Because obviously Peyton Pritchard can give you 30, but on the defensive side, he's more of a liability. You know what I mean? So those type of things, that's why I think Boston is going to be a dark horse team in terms of trading up, because I think they're preparing to dismantle their team to build it back up, if that makes sense. I think they should try. I would definitely try to do that. I think it's hard with the assets they have because I believe their picks are frozen. They could probably trade this year's pick in the trade because of like how it works. Yeah. But I think their like futures are frozen because of the second apron stuff. I don't know how you trade for it. Like I know how. Like I think they should if the opportunity is there. I mean, maybe sell Derek White. Maybe like you know what I mean. Selling Derek White, that's tough. But I think he's the best non like superstar asset. Yeah. This I don't know because like Kristaps Porzingis, if I'm gonna trade, like I think the world of Kristaps Porzingis as a player, like rim protector that can space the floor reliably. Yeah. That like I like love that archetype of player, but I'm just like with the illness, they like don't even know what it is. Like I don't know, like what team were like, you know what I mean? Like I'm trying to think, like the Pistons could like Porzingis. Like I think he would fit well with Cade. I think you need somebody to space the floor. Yeah. But do they want to give up that much salary? Like I guess if they could get off like Tobias's expiring contract, like because he's making like 22 mil. Porzingis probably in the 30s, so they could trade him to somebody else. Like those would be easy contracts for Boston to get off of, even if they just like wait out the year and they expire. Mm-hmm. And then like you really don't give up that many assets for Porzingis. You're kind of just helping them trade off his contract. I think that could work, but we're like the Nets if they get like a point guard they like. Like trading for him. They have so much cap. Yeah. I don't know. I think it has to be a situation like that where a team is just like willing to take a risk on Porzingis. Like they have so much cap space. I don't know. I like him a lot as a player, but I'm just like super scared of another team. All right, so who you got at 4, bro? Oh, 3. My fault. 3. So honestly, be honest with me, bro. I would honestly explore a trade back, like try to pick up an asset. I know that Cam Johnson, the 8 is a popular one. Don't think the Nets would do that if I'm being honest. I think like the prospect they can get today is good, and they've like been pretty picky with the Cam Johnson trades to this point. I don't think like all of a sudden they're going to use him as a piece to trade up. I would do that. I really like Cam Johnson. Me too. Prospects that's going to be there at 8. Yeah. The Rockets wanted to trade up. I'd be cool with that. Even if we just get the Hornets a call, it's like, yo, who do you want? Because I think we probably value different players, like the Sixers and the Hornets. Like, and just being like, people are giving us calls, like, throw us a second round pick, and we'll let you trade up to the spot and not give that like pick to anybody else. Yeah. We're trying to pick somebody else. Yeah. Like that'd be like a Howie Roseman thing to do right there. Okay. But if I am staying and making the pick,
which if we don't get a good trade back offer, I'm completely fine with doing. I don't want to trade it for anything else other than the later pick in the draft. But like later pick, I mean, still within the top 10. I don't want to trade back into like outside the lottery to pick up 2 players.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah.
I would pick Ace Bailey, and Ace does scare me a lot as a player, but I do think in this whole draft process, I thought that the Sixers are the best spot for him, like as a player. Like if I'm Ace Bailey, I want to be a Sixer because, like, you're not gonna be heavily relied on for the offense. Like I know he was the 99th percentile in terms of like volume of isolation in college.
Mm-hmm.
That's not gonna fly at the NBA level.
Yeah.
Like no team is gonna win like titles by one player, like just isolating the whole time. You know what I mean? And I think it's kind of like I think you could hope for like outlier development in like a Jason Tatum type of situation where he comes into a team that like wasn't really bad enough to have the pick they used to draft him. You know what I mean? Because they had the Nets pick. Like our team, like at a certain point, we just started tanking. Like we weren't actually like, if we played it out like trying to win every game, like we didn't have our pick.
Yeah, OKC would have our pick.
Yeah, OKC would have our pick. Like, we wouldn't be in a position to draft Ace Bailey. So we're kind of like doing a thing here, and I just don't think you would pass him on the talent. Like maybe I'm thinking too too much about the idea of Ace Bailey, but I just don't see him being a bad defender at the NBA level. Like I think he's too athletic, like too long. His standing reach is like 8'11".
Yeah.
I know he's like 6'7.5" without shoes, which is kind of rough. But I knew he wasn't going to be 6'10", like they said he was. But he put shoes on. They say that as an inch and a half, 6'9". Like who cares? All the players like their heights are listed with shoes on. Like none of them are listed with their barefoot heights. So I'll call him like cool 6'9" on the court. And I don't know. I think the movement